Welcome. It's good to have you here in this quiet space as the day settles into night. Tonight, let us take a long, slow walk away from our time. Let us leave behind the noise, the screens, the rush of now. Our journey is to a place of profound stillness and ancient rhythm. We are going to the very heart of ancient Rome, but not to the Senate or the Colosseum. We are going to a small, circular temple. We are going to sit, in our minds, with the keeper of the eternal flame. Our guide is a Vestal Virgin. Her story is not one of war or politics, but of gentle, unwavering attention, of duties repeated for a lifetime, of a peace so deep it became the spiritual anchor for an empire. So, find your most comfortable position. Let the weight in your shoulders soften. Let your breathing find a slow and steady pace. And imagine, with me, the first pale light of a Roman dawn. Imagine waking in the cool, gray silence that comes just before sunrise. Your room is small, simple. A narrow bed, a wooden chest, a plain stand holding a clay jug of water. The walls are bare. The air carries subtle scents, the clean linen of your sheets, the faint, sweet smell of cedar from the chest, and underneath it all, a dry, warm, smoky fragrance. It is the smell of the sacred fire, always burning in the temple next door. It is the smell of your purpose. You rise. The movement is calm, unhurried. There is a ritual even to this. You fold the simple wool blanket. You smooth your tunic, which is pure, undyed white linen. You tie the sash around your waist. There is no mirror here. Your preparation is about purity, not appearance. Your long hair, which must never be cut during your 30 years of service, is then plaited and arranged in the ancient, traditional style of the Vestals. It is a style so old, it whispers of Rome's earliest, simplest days. Before you eat, before you speak to anyone, your first duty calls. It is a duty of silence. You slip from your room into the colonnaded walkway of the Domus Publica, the public house where you live. Your sandals make only the softest whispering sound on the smooth stone. The world outside the temple walls is still dark and quiet. You enter the Aedes Vesti, the temple proper. It is not a large, towering building, but a small, circular hut, a hearth house made sacred. It feels intimate, protected. And in the center, on its plain altar, the eternal flame burns. Your first act of the day is simply to watch it. You stand in the dimness, your eyes resting on the light. Is it strong? Is it clear? Does it flutter weakly, or does it burn with a steady, unwavering heart? The well-being of this flame is seen as the well-being of Rome. Your first thought, your first silent prayer, is for this fire. You step forward. You select a piece of dry, perfectly seasoned wood from the sacred pile. You place it carefully onto the glowing embers. You watch as the fire licks at it, as the bark curls and blackens, as it is slowly, completely consumed to keep the light alive. This is your anchor. This quiet moment with the flame. It is a conversation without words. A promise renewed with the dawn. The fate of the city, in this hushed space, rests on your calm and watchful eyes. Your next rituals are all about water. But not just any water. For the sacred rites, you cannot use water from the public fountain. That water is for the everyday world. For the temple, you need water that is utterly pure. Water that has never been still. Never touched the ground in a common place. So, you prepare for a walk. You take up a special bronze vessel, called a feudal. Its shape is ancient, designed so it cannot be set down on the earth without spilling. It must always be held. With the flame tended, the city outside begins to stir. You might hear the very distant calls of the first street vendors, the faint rumble of a cart on the cobblestones. But your world remains separate. A world of quiet intention. Perhaps with a single, silent attendant, you leave the temple complex. You walk through the waking streets. People see your white robe and make way, bowing their heads slightly. You are a living sanctuary moving through the crowd. You walk out of the city gate, towards the countryside. Your destination is a sacred spring. The walk itself is part of the ritual. It is a journey from the profane to the pure. You hear the spring before you see it, a gentle, bubbling sound over smooth, wet stones. You kneel by the cool, clear water. You fill your bronze vessel directly from the source. The water is cold and bright in your hands. The walk back is slower. The vessel is heavy now. Its weight is a physical reminder. You are carrying the lifeblood of purity back into the heart of Rome. Back in the temple, you use this water for every sacred act. You pour it over your hands, washing each finger with deliberate, thoughtful care. You sprinkle it lightly on the altar to cleanse the space. The sound of the water is soft. A tiny, liquid chime in the quiet. This is not about cleaning dirt. It is about maintaining a boundary. A boundary between the sacred and the everyday. In a city full of dust and noise and bustling life, you are a vessel for silence and purity. One careful gesture at a time. Now comes the heart of your daily worship. The public might imagine grand sacrifices with trumpets and chanting crowds. But for you, on most days, the worship is a quiet, private conversation. It is time for the daily sacra, the sacred rites for Vesta. The offering itself is humble. A handful of precious salt. Some finely ground spelt flour. A few fresh flowers, if they are in season. The value is not in the gift, but in the giving, in the unwavering attention behind it. You stand before the small, round altar. Every movement is prescribed by tradition, passed down from vestal to vestal for centuries. The way you lift your hand. The angle you sprinkle the salt. The soft, archaic Latin words you whisper. The language is so old, the original meanings are blurred by time. But the sound of the words themselves holds the power. They are a thread connecting you to every priestess who has stood in this very spot, performing this very act, for hundreds of years. And now, you listen. You become a reader of a silent language. As the flower touches the altar near the flame, does the fire spark and leap upward? Does it accept the offering with a bright, steady burn? Or does it smoke and sputter, as if turning the gift away? A sudden, sharp crack from the burning wood is a sign. The pattern of the ashes in the morning is a text to be read. Later, if there is a state sacrifice with an animal, you will be called upon to examine the entrails. Their color, their shape, their markings. They are a complex map, a scripture of the God's will. This is your profound, daily duty. You are not a prophetess shouting dramatic visions. You are an interpreter of the quiet, everyday signs. You are listening, with all your senses, to the mood of the divine. Is Rome in harmony with the gods today? Or is there a whisper of discord, a need for correction? You note everything in your mind. Your report is not for the public. It is a quiet, solemn conversation with the Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest. Your entire day is spent in this state of soft, focused attention. Turning the mundane, a flicker of flame, the shape of a cloud, the flight of a bird across the forum, into a sacred ongoing dialogue. And your duty extends beyond the flame and the rites. You are also a guardian, a keeper of the deepest secrets upon which Rome itself was said to depend. Deep within the temple, in a chamber where no man was ever allowed to set foot, were kept the Pignora, the sacred pledges, the physical guarantees of Rome's fortune and survival. What were they? We do not know for certain. Their exact nature was the most closely guarded secret in the entire empire, known only to the Vestals. Ancient legends whisper that one was the Palladium, a small, ancient statue of the goddess Athena, believed to have been rescued from burning Troy by the hero Aeneas. To lose it would be to lose the divine protection of the gods. Your daily round includes a visit to this inner chamber. This is a moment of absolute solitude and overwhelming trust. You unlock the door, a duty only you perform. You ensure the relics are undisturbed, resting in their sacred place. You might clean the space around them with a soft cloth, an act of tender, almost motherly care. There is no ceremony here. No chanting. Just the profound, echoing silence of being alone with the spiritual soul of your civilization. In those moments, you are the only person alive permitted to see these objects, to be in their presence. In a world ruled by the loud voices of senators and the marching feet of generals, you hold the private, silent heartbeat of Rome. Your silent vigilance, day after day, year after year, is a continuous, wordless prayer for the safety and continuity of your people. Now, let us step away from the sacred spaces for a moment. Let us walk into the living quarters, into the rhythm of daily life. The Domus Publica was a spacious, dignified home, but it was not a place of luxury or indulgence. It was a place of serene, elegant simplicity. Your day has its own gentle tempo. After the morning rites, you might share a simple meal with your sister Vestals. The food is plain but nourishing. Fresh bread, lentils, chickpeas, olives, and a little cheese. Perhaps some figs or grapes in season. Wine, always heavily diluted with pure water. The conversation at the table is quiet, thoughtful. You might discuss the subtle signs observed in the flame that morning. You might plan for the details of an upcoming festival, like the Vestalia in June. Your entertainment is not found in the roaring excitement of the Circus Maximus. It is found in quiet, meditative work. Your hands are almost always busy with purpose. One of your most sacred and regular tasks is weaving. You spin wool into fine thread on a simple, handheld spindle. You sit at a loom, weaving the sacred cloths and ribbons that will be used in temple rituals. You sit at a loom, weaving the sacred cloths and ribbons that will be used in temple rituals. In the evening, you might walk in the private garden, the atrium. A small fountain plays in the center, its sound a constant, gentle companion. You might care for the herbs grown there, mint, rosemary, lavender, their clean, sharp scents rising into the cool air. This is your community. 6 women, bound not by blood, but by a sacred, unbreakable vow. Your life is one of deep companionship and shared, profound purpose. The world outside these walls is loud, demanding, chaotic. But here, within this sanctuary, there is an oasis of orderly peace, a harmony maintained by routine and mutual respect. To truly understand her life, we must pause to feel the scale of her commitment. A Vestal Virgin was chosen as a young girl, between 6 and 10 years old. She was taken from her family and given to the state. She then served for a minimum of 30 years. A full lifetime, divided into 3 decades. The first decade for learning. The second is for performing the rites. The third for teaching the newcomers. After 30 years, she was free. She could leave, marry if she wished, and start a civilian life with a generous pension from the state. Yet, historical records suggest many chose to stay. The temple had become their home, their identity, their entire world. The rules that shaped this life were strict, and the penalties were severe, reflecting the immense responsibility. If the sacred flame went out through her neglect, it was seen as a spiritual disaster for Rome. The priestess responsible would be scourged, beaten by the Pontifex Maximus himself. It was a punishment for failing the state. And the vow of chastity was absolute. To break it was not seen as a personal sin, but as a pollution of Rome's sacred hearth, a direct threat to its safety. The punishment for this was entombment alive. This was the immense, terrifying weight of the duty she carried every single day. But the honor matched the weight, creating a perfect balance. A Vestal possessed privileges and respect granted to no other Roman woman. She could own property, manage her own vast finances, and write a legal will, rights denied to her sisters in the city. Her testimony in court was accepted without the need for an oath. Her word was sacred. Her person was so inviolable that when she walked through the forum, a lictor, a public attendant, cleared her path. The crowds, even the most powerful senators, would part in silent respect. In that moment, she was not a person to them. She was the living embodiment of the hearth fire of Rome. Her power was absolute in its way, yet it was entirely contained within a life of extreme discipline, humility, and quiet, repetitive service. It was a perfect and profoundly peaceful paradox. In that moment, she was not a person to them. She was the living embodiment of the hearth fire of Rome. Her power was absolute in its way, yet it was entirely contained within a life of extreme discipline, humility, and quiet, repetitive service. It was a perfect and profoundly peaceful paradox. For the Vestal, these days were a time of intensified, yet still serene, activity. She would receive the offerings, often just simple cakes baked in ancient, earthenware pots. She would oversee the special prayers, the atmosphere thick with a feeling of concentrated, feminine piety. Throughout the city, the millers and bakers, whose ovens were also under Vesta's care, would celebrate. They hung their donkeys with garlands of flowers and strings of bread. The entire city, in its own way, turned its thoughts to the humble, essential flame. After the festival closed, a unique ritual of cleansing began. The temple was swept from top to bottom. But this was no ordinary cleaning. The sweepings, the sacred dust, the ash from the eternal flame, the tiny remnants of offerings, were all collected with the utmost care. They were placed in a special basket. Then, in a solemn silent procession led by the Vestals, this basket was carried through the streets, out to the banks of the Tiber River. There, at the water's edge, the contents were cast into the flowing current. All that was worn, used, and spiritually spent from the past year was carried away by the water. It was a symbolic fresh start, a profound purification of the sacred space, ready to receive the energy of the year to come. The act itself was simple, sprinkling dust into a river, but its meaning was as deep and flowing as the Tiber itself. And now, as the deepest quiet of the night settles around us, let us take our leave of her. The Rome of marble and legion, of emperor and gladiator, has long since faded into history. The Temple of Vesta is a beautiful, silent ruin in the Forum, its circular outline still clear in the grass. The eternal flame was extinguished forever, over 1500 years ago, when the ancient religion was abandoned. But her story remains, not as a tale of dramatic events, but as a lesson in atmosphere. A lesson in the profound peace that can be found in unwavering devotion. In the sacredness of routine, faithfully upheld. She found meaning in the 1000th time she fed the fire. She found purpose in the 10,000th careful step to the sacred spring. She found a connection to eternity in the silent, watchful moments between actions, in the space between breaths. She reminds us that not all heroism is loud. That some of the most vital work in any society is done in silence, in vigilance, in the gentle, repetitive tending of what we hold most precious. The physical flame she guarded was the soul of a city. But perhaps in our own lives, we have small, sacred flames to tend as well. The flame of our full attention, given to one task or to one person. The flame of our consistent care for others. The quiet, inner flame of our own peace, which needs to be sheltered from the winds of worry and distraction. Her temple was a sanctuary built in space, of stone and marble. But we can build sanctuaries in time. A few quiet minutes at the start or end of the day, held sacred. A moment of pure, simple focus on a single, small task. A breath taken slowly, with intention, watching it rise and fall like a gentle flame. So tonight, as you drift toward sleep, perhaps you can carry a little of her temple's stillness with you. Let the repetitive, meditative rhythm of her life, the waking, the watching, the walking, the weaving, soothe your own thoughts into a gentle pattern. Imagine the steady, warm, undemanding light of that eternal flame. Not a blazing, wild bonfire, but a calm, persistent glow in the darkness. A beacon of quiet constancy. You have been a gentle and attentive listener, walking this slow path through history. May the peace of this ancient, quiet story settle around you and within you, like a soft, historical blanket. The night is deep. The world is hushed. Your journey through the past is complete. It is time to rest. Good night.